Priority Zero podcast. Stories of service.
Welcome to the Priority Zero podcast. My name's Oresty, and today with us we have Chris Punch. Now, Chris is a firey for the Western Australian Fire Service. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Very good, mate. I'm happy to come on and share your story. Now, for context for everyone, we met at the Resilience Shield mentor course, which was held in Perth last year in Fremantle, held by Dan Pronk, Ben Prock and Tim Curtis. It was filled with lots of people from different backgrounds. Had a lot of emergency services people there, that teachers, mentors, coaches, that sort of thing. So I really recommend that course to everyone. But we're here for you. So
yeah, it was an awesome course, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And FY, they're having a resilience retreat end of the year. If anyone's interested, just Google the Resilience Shield and have a look. Highly recommend it. So, firey in Western Australia.
Yep. Yeah.
What got you down that path?
Well, I suppose, growing up, I was one of three boys. I've got an identical twin brother. Interestingly, he took a completely different route to me. But mum and dad were both big on sort of, I guess, their jobs. Dad's a sort of near on 40-year policeman.
Oh, wow.
And mum's a education assistant. And they're both quite, I guess, community minded and service minded. So definitely through both of their jobs and my upbringing, I was passionate about giving back to the community in some way. Dad always said, don't be a copper, just through his experience, I suppose, jokingly, but definitely what they do is a difficult job. So yeah, from a pretty young age, I sort of either wanted to join the army or join the fire brigade, and always worked towards that, I suppose.
Nice. So how long have you been a firey for?
8 years now. So I joined back in 2016. I did a electrical apprenticeship coming out of high school. I sort of knew I wouldn't be able to get straight into the fire brigade. I'd heard anecdotally that they'd take people with a bit of life experience, and realistically, 18, you're probably a little bit young and underdone for some of those emergency service roles. As much as I didn't want to be, if I had my way, I'd probably jump straight into it. But had to sort of come up with another plan, and also realised that it was pretty competitive to get into the fire brigade. So I needed something else, I guess, to fall back on if I'd never managed to actually get in. So I chose an electrical apprenticeship. I did that for 4 years as a apprentice, and then sort of as soon as I finished that, I started trying to work through the application process, and managed to get in back in. So the application started in 2015, and then did my academy in 2016.
Nice. So the whole time that you pretty much got out of school, you did your electrical apprenticeship to get you some life experience and another qualification as well. But Through that whole period, your mind was set on becoming a firey. Yeah,
pretty much. So high school, was definitely when I think I remember 8 or 9, I guess. I pretty much had made up my mind at that point. And like I said, I sort of toyed with potentially joining the military, and mum and dad sort of steered me away from that, I guess. So the fire brigade was it for me. But I do feel for a lot of young people these days going through high school, and I was very fortunate. I had that clear goal and that drive to, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Whereas these days, and even going back to when I was in high school, there was some mates of mine that had no idea what they wanted to do, and sort of tried a few different things for several years post high school, and managed to work it out eventually. But I definitely knew from a young age that's where I wanted to head. Whether I can achieve it or not, that was I have, but definitely.
Nice. So through that 4 years that you were doing electrical apprenticeship, did you keep up the training? Did you kind of research what the role was going to be like, what the fitness test was going to be like, and you kept all that fitness up through that apprenticeship?
Yeah, for sure. I've always sort of enjoyed running and fitness in general anyway, and through high school and that I was into athletics. I was a 400-meter runner, but through my apprenticeship, I definitely had that end goal of once I'd finished my trade, I wanted to finish the trade and make sure I had that qualification, like I said, as a bit of a fallback. And I'd also heard anecdotally that a lot of fireys had a second job. I sort of, when I picked an apprenticeship, and I'd recommend an apprenticeship to anyone, to be honest, I think gives you really, really good general life skills. And, coming out of high school, you're working with people that are 20, 30 years older than you. You just get used to, I suppose, exposed to a whole bunch of different people that up until then, it's been your teachers or your parents, I guess. So, yeah, just working with a very different group of people to what I'd sort of been encountered before that. And you're getting paid along the way as well. I did my TE, which it was called back then, and had zero interest in going to university. I put down for phys ed secondary school teaching and accepted that and deferred it as a sort of a plan C, I guess. If I did my first year of my apprenticeship and hated it, then I could go down the uni pathway. But yeah, got through that first year of the apprenticeship and really actually enjoyed being hands-on and working with tools and on site every day and earning some money. So yeah, that was, I guess, I really enjoyed the apprenticeship, but always for me it was kind of that I'm doing this until I can join the fire brigade kind of mentality. That was always in the back of my head, working towards passing that application process. What was going to make me stand out from the next person? I'd heard they liked people with trade backgrounds, people that were mechanically minded. Obviously, fitness was a part of that as well. So, yeah, definitely maintain my physical fitness. But I suppose we'll get into it a little bit more. The physical side of stuff is definitely not as important as everyone probably thinks it is. They're looking to select off of your aptitude, your communication skills, your teamwork, those sort of attributes, those other skills, soft skills that aren't. It's not all about just being a gym junkie, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, having that mechanical aptitude and doing something like an apprenticeship will help you. It'll give you that life experience. It'll give you that dealing with different people and different cultures and going into people's houses and all that. But what a lot of people may not understand, for people that haven't looked into that fiery job, you've got to maintain your own equipment as well.
Yeah.
All the fire pumps, all the saws, all the drills, all that stuff, you've got to maintain yourselves, and that's part of your regime. So all those skills are directly transferable to that.
Yeah, and definitely, working like we are, a firefighter. I did a 5-year development program. We call it the Firefighter Development Program, or FDP, post the academy, which is almost like a 5-year apprenticeship as well. And it is actually very similar to a trade in mechanical reasoning, working with tools, the cutters and spreaders. And when you're looking at a vehicle and extricating casualties from a vehicle, it's very much having that mechanical knowledge, that understanding of force and leverage, and how things are constructed to then deconstruct them, or So there is definitely a massive, I guess, trade side to being a firefighter that really helped, I guess, coming from the and hydraulics, pump hydraulics, working with water and pressure and flow and all those sorts of things. It's very different, very, very similar, to working with electricity and voltage and amps and all that sort of stuff. So I was a bit lucky with the theoretical side of things that I could translate a lot of those skills and that knowledge, I guess, across as well, which helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk a little bit about what the application process involved?
Yeah, it has gone through a few different iterations, and back when I went through, it was very similar, but they have tweaked along the way. So it did include a beep test to start off with, and an online application, which was basically just answer a couple of questions in 2 pages, attach your CV. That was the first stage, and you had to have, the only prerequisites was I had to have a heavy rigid truck license and my advanced first aid, or senior first aid, I think it was. But outside of that, there were no prerequisites. So just managed to tick those couple of boxes, in those years in between school and applying. The heavy rigid truck license definitely, takes a little bit to go and get some lessons and a bit of an investment in terms of money for people. And that's still today the case. You have to have a heavy rigid truck license. I'd recommend going out and getting that if you're passionate and you actually want to have a decent crack. It's just square that away now before, because I know come application time, everyone that's applying to be a firefighter, you go to a St. John's first aid course and the whole room's full of people that want to be a firefighter, and you go and try and book in for a truck lesson, and it's all just people trying to get their truck license to fire brigade. So yeah, getting that done well and truly in advance just makes life easier. Yeah, the beep test, I think back when I went through, it was 9.7, and you could go as high as you wanted to, or as you could, I guess.
Yep.
But these days they've put it down to 8.6, and they stop it at 8.6. So as long as you cross that benchmark, and that's any age, any gender, that's the benchmark. And then you go into, and this is all if people are looking to apply for DFS, then it's all on the internet. It's very easy to search. It's got videos these days, which we never had, of a lot of the activities that you're actually going to be doing. But yeah, once you're through that first screening application, you go into an aptitude test, which is like an online psychometric testing. And you also do a bit of a psychological test in there, or personality as well. So they screen for, mechanical reasoning, logic, thinking under pressure, fact checking, a lot of those, like I kind of was alluding to earlier, those soft skills that are probably a bit more important, being able to think under pressure. Similar, you would have in your roles seen that that's just as important, if not more important than.
Yeah, we got some similar testing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people don't realise there is a lot of online tests that you can practice, or some are free and some you can, if you want to, you can pay for, and they're really, really helpful before going into these assessments, I guess, to make your outcome as best as it possibly can. And I did that, just paid the money and tried a few of these online ones before I went in, just to give myself the best possible chance of passing them. These days, then they go into a circuit, basically. You go out to the academy for the day, you do a confined space tunnel crawl where you get, a blacked out mask with a BA cylinder, and you crawl through a tunnel system with some shapes, and it's a bit of a anxiety test as well as a problem solving, assessing a fair few different skills there, but you've got a time limit, and it is pretty uncomfortable, also difficult to train for, something that I had never done. I didn't have access to a BA set, so I could throw on my back and crawl through. So yeah, that was pretty interesting, but very achievable, especially when I look around at the fire brigade and see the size of some of the guys that have come through and managed to get through the same tunnel system as I did. I'm not a massive bloke. If I can do it, then just the average size person's not going to have too many dramas, I guess. You go, and that's got like a dummy drag and a whole bunch of different fitness assessments, hose drags, and some like lifting equipment and bits and pieces. Like the road crash rescue cutters and spreaders tool hold, all of those sorts of assessments in that round robin circuit kind of style day.
Yep.
And then if you get past that, you go into like speed interview. I think there's 5 different assessors, and they ask you 2 questions each over the course of about an hour. I think, again, interview skills is one of those things that most people probably undervalue going into, and it's something that you can definitely work on, making sure that you are articulate in your responses. There's only a certain number of ways they can ask for the same information. I mean, they can dress the questions as much as they want, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be based around the same criteria, I guess. So, teamwork, integrity, communication skills, resilience, dealing with pressure and stress, dealing with conflict in workplaces, all those sorts of, what do you know about being a firefighter? All those sorts of questions can be asked a million different ways, but it's going to be essentially the same. So I know in recent times, people definitely have been paying for interview coaches and stuff like that to give themselves a little as best possible. But I was quite fortunate. I had my dad to lean on, and he sort of sat me down going into the interview and said, just sit down with a page and write out 5-6 examples in your life of those different situations and where you've displayed some of those qualities, so that when you go into the interview, you can sort of have some clear idea of exact examples that I could talk about from my own personal experience.
Yeah, like I've been a part of a few selection panels, and a lot of people stress or have problems answering, or tell me about a time that you were challenged and how you overcame that challenge. You know, it's just simple things like that, because people don't like admitting when they're wrong, or they don't want to seem like they've had challenges. But, you know, a lot of these emergency services jobs, we want to see that you've had a challenge and how have you come out of that challenge? You know what I mean? How did you deal with that? Yeah. Like the last thing I want is someone coming in and going, oh no, I haven't had any challenges in my life. My life's been good. Well, how are they going to deal with adversity? How are they going to deal with when we've got someone on the other end of the phone and you've got to tell the caller who has been a mother to cut their son down that they found hanging in their room? You know, just things like that. That stuff takes, you've had to be exposed to things before and have some sort of life experience to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, and I think that does go back to, you know, the fact that you do need some life experience. And I was, I guess, fortunate, unfortunate, however you want to think of it, that, you know, I had dealt with death prior to going for the fire brigade, and I had a coach, my athletics coach actually. He was quite an old man back in the day. I was probably, I think I was 16 or 17. Just before my final, you know, year 12 exams, and he'd been sick for a couple of days and he lived by himself. And I'd sort of over the years built a relationship with him where we would go and just do bits and pieces around his house if he needed help or whatever. But he was a very, very giving man. Vic Nolan was his name. And he, you know, caught a bus and the train every day to and from the oval that he trained all the kids for free at.
Wow.
Yeah, like just an amazing man, and been quite a good athlete in his day too. But yeah, just hadn't heard from him for a couple of days, wasn't answering the phone or anything. And then sort of said to Mum, you know, I think we should just go and check on Vic, and haven't been able to get in touch with him. So she drove me, because I didn't have my license back then. Drove me to training that night. And we just said, oh, if he's not at training tonight, and he never missed a training day, sort of thing. Yeah, if he's not at training tonight, we'll go to his house, just check on him. We had a key. So drove to training, he wasn't there. So I remember it pretty vividly, but driving up to his house and just had this feeling, you know, Mum and I both probably had a similar feeling that we didn't say too much, and then got there and opened the door, and sure enough, Vic would passed away on the floor, just sort of been a bit crook over the weekend, and finding him at that age, and you know, someone that was very close to me, it was definitely difficult to deal with at the time, but was fortunate in I had an experience like that I guess gave me a real understanding of how I did process those sorts of things, how I dealt in that situation at the time, and also after it. So I had a few things to draw back on when I went through those interviews, and coping strategies, I guess, that I'd inadvertently developed. You know, I didn't necessarily do it consciously, but yeah, probably helped me in the long run.
Yeah, and as bad as it sounds, that this sort of stuff does build resilience if you look at it in the right way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We can't test our resilience unless we have some sort of stressor to measure it against. So
yeah, exactly. I think going into these roles, you need to understand that is a massive part of it. You know, you are going to deal with death. You're going to deal with, I mean, fire brigade. Can't talk for every emergency service, but I do know that they are somewhat similar. You know, you're going to deal with some traumatic events, car accidents where people are pretty busted up or potentially dying. You know, you might have family members in the same vehicle that aren't dead or dying. Dealing with bystanders that just have been going about their everyday business and witness something, you know, hugely out of the norm, and trying to, you know, make sure that they're all right as best as you can. It's got there's a whole bunch of challenges there, and then going home to your family at the end of all that, and not wearing it on your sleeve too much, and being able to process that in a healthy way so that you can still function at home, and you know, be a decent dad and a decent husband, and relate to those people, especially, you know, your family, that haven't had that same experience that day. They've thankfully had a fairly normal day.
That's right. And the thing is, you need to go home and be a dad. You need to go home and be a husband, because your family needs you.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. But it's interesting to think about, because obviously living in Darwin, it's quite a small town. I've taken a call from my friend whose son was choking. I've taken a call for one of my friends that was found dead in bed. I was working a day that one of my colleagues took a call from one of my friends who was doing resus on his dad, who I knew. Like, it's different. Like, I've got friends that do this kind of thing in New South Wales and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty unheard of for that to happen. You got to be have a lot of bad luck for that to happen. But in a place like Darwin and a lot of these little country towns where you know the doctor, you know the paramedics, you know what I mean? It must be so much harder on them as well.
Massively, yeah. So, well, I mean, I got sent to Kalgoorlie, which is a small-ish mining town, about 30,000 people, 7 hours inland of Perth, where I'm now based. And yes, it's well known for its gold mining, but got sent there for my first 3 years after I graduated the academy. And exactly what you're saying, you know, a lot of the guys that work there are born and bred from town there. And you know, I remember like one bloke, his parents' house was on fire one day. You know, they got a call to his parents' address, and luckily it turned out that it was just an oven fire. But you know, he was driving the pump that day, so driving to his own parents' house on fire. It's hard to become detached from and function as you need to in that situation. Probably similar to you know, without that personal emotion attached to it, so that you can still deliver the best outcome possible in that situation. It's really hard to compartmentalize, I guess, in that way to still do what you need to do in that time.
Absolutely, it is. Talk to me about some of the training that you did when you got to your recruit course. How did you feel your first day going into the fire service as a new recruit?
Oh, mate, I felt like I'd won lottery. Yeah. It was amazing. I think putting that uniform on for the first time, and yeah, the whole experience. I was very lucky. I was 23. Just had a new girlfriend, which is my now wife. She's an amazing lady, and been there for pretty much my whole journey, I guess, from the start of the fire brigade. But yeah, I felt like I was just doing my dream every day. So life was pretty uncomplicated for me outside of work, I guess. Whereas I feel for guys that have and girls that have kids outside of work and marriages and all this, they've taken maybe a big pay cut, potentially to go and chase their dream, and they're trying to keep all these balls in the air for my recruit course was 17 weeks in total. So yeah, I was loving every day pretty much. But yeah, went into it. It's a lot more paramilitary than people probably realise. A lot of marching and you know, the discipline side of stuff and the rank structure early on. They really drum into you that respect, and you address everyone by their rank. And there's a big, I guess, wall between the instructors and the recruits. And there needs to be, I think, that it works quite well to deliver the product that then we need to get. You know, and I've since gone into the instructor role and been back for a couple of academies on the other side of the fence, and I think I can see the value in it now for sure. But you break the academy down into the basic disciplines of rescue, breathing apparatus, pumping, we call it, which is all like the operating the pump and laying hose and hydraulics and you know, all that sort of stuff, and driving were the main kind of 4 rotations. And then each one of them you did a week of each, and you did that 3 times, so that was 12 weeks kind of in total of, and each time you went back and revisited that skillet, you know, you advanced that, I guess, the learning in that area. So by rescue, we started off with managed injuries, which was like a advanced first aid course, and then we went into the road crash rescue, which was dealing with, you know, the extrication of casualties from cars, and then we went into like the heavy rescue course, which was, you know, dealing with then trucks and trains and industrial rescue from machinery and lifts and those sorts of things. Yeah, it was brilliant. Very, very intense. 17 weeks, long days. You know, a lot of theory. Probably underestimated how much theory was crammed in our heads back then as well. So yeah, I'd get up at 6 o'clock to get in by sort of 6:45, 7 o'clock, and then you'd iron your uniforms or whatever and be at muster at 7:30, and then your day would be anywhere from 7:30 till 5:30 ish, I guess. Drive home, have some dinner, do some washing, hopefully do an hour or two of study, fall into bed, and
Do it all again.
Do it all again, and that was Monday to Friday. Yeah, so lived and breathed it. Life goes on hold for that 17 weeks for sure. But I think I was just blown away day to day by what we were getting to do, which was pretty cool.
Did you have a specific course that you did through your induction or through that 17-week training program that you enjoyed the most out of everything?
Yeah, I think in skills, the BA rotations or breathing apparatus rotations and doing all the search and rescue and moving in darkened buildings and smoke and which then leads into the internal structural firefighting and the live burns that we do. So going into compartments where they've lit them on fire and you're seeing all the fire behaviour develop. You've done the theory sessions and you hear about all these phenomenons happening in the neutral plane, the smoke layer as it drops, and then you actually get to go in there and gas cool and use your hose and do some different techniques to produce the effects that you want to control the fire effectively. I really loved all of that, and then it slowly builds. So you just go in there and watch a burn, and then you go in there, try and move with a hose, and then you introduce casualties as well. So you're moving through finding fires, finding casualties, extinguishing. It gets pretty complex, but
absolutely
loved it. Yeah, it was awesome, and I think pretty good level of training for. When I graduated, I definitely felt ready to go and hit the ground. Go and actually, you want to do it for real, I guess. By the end of the training firefighter school, you can't wait to hit the road and actually go to a job and see what's it all about. But
yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the public, and unless I guess even people that want to do this role, there's so much more to it than just seeing the fire, pointing the hose, and putting water on it, because that's, from what I understand, sometimes not the best solution. You got backburning around it. You got the little, when they open the door and they spray the water in the roof up in the air to try and cool it down. I don't know what it's called, man. I'm not technical, but I've got a few mates that are firers and taught me a few of these things. And it just seems like it's a lot more involved than the general person thinks. It's not just pointing the hose and spraying it.
Yeah.
How do you deal these days? I'm probably jumping a little bit ahead here, but
that's right.
With my work, we do a lot of interagency cases, motor vehicle accidents, things like that.
Yep.
How has things changed with the introduction of electric cars with lithium batteries? I know that's causing a lot of issues. Like, we get a lot of jobs on the screen, and we only take medical calls, but obviously we can see the whole case if it's interagency. And one of the first questions they ask is the vehicle electric.
Yeah.
How is that dealt with these days?
It's a massive problem for, I think, everyone, but yeah, especially for the fire brigade, because we're trying to combat these things. And I think rightly so, the public have an expectation that when there's a fire, we'll come and put it out. But what we're finding with these EVs and batteries, in lithium-ion batteries in general, is that they're combusting at such a rate and so quickly that a lot of these EV companies are recommending the best form of extinguishment is submersion to actually put the fire out.
How are you going to do that in the middle of the road, though?
Yeah, and I've heard over in Europe that they've literally got sea containers that are full of water, and they hire these cars into them, and that's what they do. They dump them in water.
Wow.
Because you're just not going to be able to. Once it's called thermal runaway. Once that starts to that process starts to happen within a lithium-ion battery, that you can't interrupt it. It's happening so fast and at such a temperature that. Yeah, it's a massive problem for everyone involved, and the problem is, especially in a road crash rescue or a car accident scenario, the impact itself can rupture these batteries and start that process. But that process can take anywhere up to a week, 2 weeks to occur.
That's
so
right.
Even for the car yards to store these vehicles safely afterwards, they're supposed to have an exclusion zone around them now and all sorts of things. It's a massive issue that I think everyone is rapidly scrambling to come up with some workable solutions for. But they do have. We're also finding with a lot of vehicles, that EV and modern vehicles in general, one of the first things we used to do was disconnect the battery to make sure that there was no ignition source for fuels or the airbag systems to deploy as well. Whereas a lot of the chairs and that we need to manipulate to then extricate casualties are all battery operated or
Yep, everything's electric now.
Yeah, that's right. So we can't just isolate batteries straight away anymore. So it's definitely a changing world, and the fire brigade's no different to any other workplace where we need to keep up with the times and come up with novel solutions to these problems to make sure that the outcomes are as best they can be for the public. Yeah, and that comes back to training and awareness for us as well. That a lot of even once you finish that 5-year FDP process and you're a senior firefighter, just we have constant ongoing training to make sure that we are at least aware of some of these things that are coming in, and we don't could go to a EV accident next week, and have to deal with one of these vehicles. Haven't actually seen one in anger yet, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of awareness training in that at the moment to do with that for sure.
Well, I've even heard a lot of the ferries in Greece that transport boats will actually put the EV vehicles in last. They'll park all the petrol in first, and then the EV stuff at the back of the boat. So, and their contingency, from what I understand, is if one happens to catch fire, they just drop the bottom and push the car into the ocean.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Exactly. That's unfortunately where it's at. I don't know. I mean, there's big bit happening with the hydrogen vehicles as well at the moment, but I mean, hydrogen's extremely unstable as a gas and burns really well, so it's probably good for a energy source, but it can also be a massive problem if that becomes a really common technology in vehicles as well. Another whole set of problems for us, but yeah, I mean,
constantly evolving.
That's it. Yeah,
constantly
which
evolving.
Is good. I mean, it keeps it interesting. Always something to learn or study, but yeah, I mean, luckily for the most part, fire's still just fire for us, and you do take it back to that. Put the wet stuff on the hot stuff, and you'll probably go all right most of the time.
Nice. I want to touch base on your march out when you finished your training, because there's a march out. There's a whole ceremony.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what that felt like for you after you had finished. I assume you had your family come and watch you, and there was a whole ceremony. Talk to me about what that was like and the feeling.
Oh, it was amazing. It's the culmination of that dream, I guess, that had started it for me as a boy, and super proud, and definitely proud to my parents were super proud, and my girlfriend, just who we moved in. We weren't even living together at the time when we first started at the academy, and I got told basically. I got asked, will you go to Kalgoorlie for 3 years? And they were a bit ambiguous as to whether I was in the academy or not if I said no. And I had no reason. I'd lived there as a boy with, we'd moved around in the country with Dad's work growing up, and then come back to Perth for high school. But I knew what Kalgoorlie was like, and said yes. But then my girlfriend and I at the time said, well, we better move in together and see if we like each other and we can live together, because I said, I've got to go to Kalgoorlie for 3 years. Will you come with me? And she didn't even batter an eyelid, said yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we were dealing with that kind of, I guess, pending move the whole way through the academy as well. Yeah, academy graduation week in general is an amazing week. We do like one of the tallest buildings in Perth. The trainees get to go every year, and we have to do a stair climb in BA, carrying all their own equipment. So we did Allendale Square was the building at the time. I think it was 55 floors or roughly.
Jesus. I think the tallest building we got in Darwin's about 31 or 32.
Yeah.
So
should have joined up there. It would have been an easier day. Yeah. We got to do that, and which is a pretty cool achievement. And then they do a family night as well. So I think the Thursday night before graduation on Friday, all the families come in and we do like a live fire demonstration. They kind of set up a grandstand, and we do some cool gas isolations, and we also do like I guess a demonstration of a road crash rescue as well, right in front of all our families, so they get to see some of the skills that we've developed and that over the academy. So that whole week is pretty phenomenal. And then grad day, just marching, the band, all of that. had it, it's brilliant. Very, very proud. And then go into a massive piss up basically afterwards with all the colleagues that you've gone through the academy with, and
Let off some steam.
Yeah, and a few of the instructors come as well, and you actually get to drop that facade a little bit and just chat one-on-one and have a bit of a joke about some of the funny things that you might have stuffed up through the academy, and the mistakes that you made, and it's really, really good. But then I had to come back to the academy on the Monday. All of the rest of my trainee firefighter school went on shift pretty much straight away, but myself and one other bloke had to come back on the Monday morning and do an extra confined space rescue Cat 2, we call it, course, because we were going to the country.
Because we're on a remote, bit extra skill.
Extra skill set. So that was another week. Training course, so I was like straight back to the academy Monday morning for another course. But that was really cool, like really good course. It's all about rescuing people from
as you said, it got all the gold mines and all that down there, and
you've
got obviously gases underground and lots of different things you've got to deal with.
So mine shafts, storm drains and wells, and even just vessels, people that working in tanks and cylinders and that, anywhere that could be a confined space. And that's what the course is based around, which is really cool to get straight away as well. So and then shipped out straight to Kalgoorlie for 3 years, which was pretty awesome experience.
Can you talk to me about some memorable moments that you've had in your career? Is there anything that stands out to you, either good or bad, or one of each, if you're up to it?
Well, I think one of my first jobs probably was it always happened. Well, it doesn't always happen, but hear it often that people get pretty big jobs straight off the bat. And for me, I got to Kalgoorlie, and I think second set that I was on shift, we got called to a structure fire. And I just remember being with my senior firefighter at the time and driving there, and I was in one of the positions. I guess each day you have a position on the trucks, and those positions have a specific role and responsibility that you're going to do depending on what the incident is. So I was sitting as the crew of the light tanker, and that means that I'm going to be first or firefighter 1 in the BA crew, making entry and doing search and rescue and all those roles straight up if it's a structure fire. And I just remember driving there at night time. I could see this glow in the distance and this big plume of smoke, so you could tell that it was fairly going. And even the comments and that we had from the job. And I just turned to the senior firefighter and said, "Fuck, if this is actually going, like, what am I doing?" And he just said, "Don't worry, mate, just stick with me and we'll be all right." But it was that real shit moment of, this is for real now.
Yep.
Was the training at the academy everything it needed to be? And luckily it was. We got there, and this house was fully involved with reports of one person missing, which was straight away. I didn't know any different at the time, but these days, if you have that kind of one person unaccounted for, definitely changes the urgency of the situation, and you're trying to locate that person. Whether they got out, were they just down the pub, where are they, kind of thing, or are they actually still in the structure? And we were just trying to extinguish this fire for quite a while. It was a timber frame old house, and managed to extinguish it, but then still couldn't find this lady that was missing, and we were sort of looking around, and eventually we found two dogs in the house that had been quite so severely burned that they were very unrecognizable. You could only just make out what they were, really. And we thought we found what we at the time was a third dog, but it actually ended up being this lady, and unfortunately she was so severely burnt that it was almost unrecognizable, unfortunately. But that's always sort of, I guess, that job and how it all played out. It's always stuck in my mind quite, not in a bad way, I guess, just as a massive learning curve. And luckily we did everything we could, and the police, arson squad were really good in the follow-up from that, basically saying that she was probably well and truly gone before we had even got there. The fire had actually started in her room on her dressing. She was wearing a dressing gown or something, I think, and she was a smoker and I think maybe fallen asleep with a cigarette, and that's what had actually caused the fire in the first place. So nothing we would have done could have changed that outcome, I guess. And knowing that definitely puts to bed a few questions in your own head. But it was a good one to get quite early on for me to cement, this is what it's all about. This is
and the severity and the responsibility of your role as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, massively. I think that's something that exactly what you just said, that responsibility. I very much of the mindset that it is a responsibility, but it's also a privilege to do what we do, and I need to earn that every day. That's the public have a faith in me and the fire brigade in general, and we have quite a good reputation. So it's up to us to maintain that, uphold that, perform to the standard that people expect, but not our colleagues expect as well.
Correct. So the way that I like to think about it is whether it's fire, whether it's ambulance, whether it's police, border force, corrections, whatever it is, in these first responder military type roles, you're considered, although you might not have the rank of a leader, if you know what I mean, but to the community, we are leaders of the community. There's an expectation by the community that we're going to be able to perform these roles. And like Heston said really well, leadership is not an entitlement. In leadership, you're providing a service to others. You're serving others. And that's what we do in these roles. And a lot of us risk our lives, whether it's physical lives, our mental health, giving up time with our family. These are all things that we're aware that could, and a lot of time do happen. And a lot of time we're happy to do that because we have a really good belief in what we do and we see the purpose in what we do. And I think being born with knowing that you want to serve one way or another in the community is something I think you can develop, but some people are just born with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, I think what you just said as well. I get so much from my job in that purpose, and I think that a lot of the conversation I'll probably get into it, but quite active in the wellness space within DFS. And I think that coming in as a junior firey, I just heard constantly the negatives of the job and how you do long enough in this job and it'll fuck you up, and you're going to get PTSD, and like I am only 8 years in, and I get that I've hopefully got a long career ahead of me, but I like to focus on what the job actually does give me rather than what it takes away. And I feel like I am a more capable, better person for having done the role that I do, the training that I've done, the experiences that I've had through the job. I've fulfilled all my childhood dreams and more. And dealing with these things is part of what I wanted, I guess. When I was a young kid, and I want to go to a house fire and see what that's like, and I want to go to a car accident and be that person that can help someone, and I want to go to a bushfire and potentially save someone's house, whatever. All those things were things that go through my head anyway, through the training and early days. And I've had the privilege to be in some of those situations and actually impact people's lives in such a positive way that it far outstrips, for me at the moment, any of the negatives, for sure. And when I am, have had a bad job or a bit of a fall out of love or a tough shift with, someone might have rolled me up or whatever it might be, you have a bit of a conflict or something, you go back to the fact that this job is actually amazing and I've got so much out of it, rather than I just had a shit day. Well, every workplace ever you're going to have a shit day every now and again. Right. I guess it's just, But
it's the mindset, like you think of it too. And I think a simple change in mindset. I'll give you an example, right? You've got kids. I've got kids. How many times a night do you get the kids coming in your room, want to sleep on your bed, so you take them back, okay, take them back, take them in, take them back, because they've got to learn how to sleep on their bed, right?
Yeah.
You don't. The way I think about it is, I don't have to take them back. I don't have to have them sleep in my bed. I get to have them in my bed. get to take them to sleep. And that's something that can be put in everyday life. Like, I don't have to go to work today. I get to go to work today.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to the gym today. I get to go to the gym, because there's a lot of people out there that are less fortunate than us that can't do the things that we do. And they wish, like, the life we are living right now is someone else's dream.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So a simple change in mindset like that, from have to get to. So what create as negative, we create as an opportunity now. You know what I mean? And that helps me a lot with everything.
Yeah.
Just something
No,
so simple.
No, very much agree with that. I think, and it's hard to have these conversations sometimes with with your colleagues at work, especially when they're in a bad spot and they aren't thinking that way at all, and they trying, I guess, to bring them back to that realization that you're having a hard time at the moment, but this job isn't all bad. Think of some of the opportunities you've had. Think of some of the experiences you've had. Think of the mates that you've got. We're all around each other. Quite very, very through. We basically lived together for 4 days.
It's a brotherhood.
You become very, very close with your shift and your colleagues, and you share these experiences that you can't really share with anyone else either. And I think they get it. You can always, I can go and say, hey, remember this job 3 years ago? And someone like, they'll go, yeah, 100%, I remember that job, because you've all gone through those experiences together. And again, I think it's a unique relationship where you can't necessarily get that from your partner. As amazing as my wife is, she does a completely different job, hasn't had the same experiences, potentially had the kids all day and is frustrated at, just the fact that she's had to be parenting all day and at her wit's end with them. And when I walk through the door, she doesn't really care, not in a bad way, but she doesn't care what I've been to or done that day. It's like, can you just take the kids off my hands? Because I'm at my limit, which is fair enough too. So
I get it, mate. I think we've all been on that side, and that's where coming home and trying to leave everything at work and coming home to be the best version of a father that you can be and the best version of a husband that you can be when you come home.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. And I think that's something to, I'm not perfect at it. It's a work in progress, and that decompression, I choose to commute a little bit to my station. It's probably about a 25-minute drive, so that I get that 20 minutes in the car to do whatever I need to do. Going back to the Resilience Shield, and one of the major tools that they've probably given me is that psychological transition period that they talk about, where you do take an opportunity to rest, reflect, and reset, so that I can enter the next interaction, which is me coming home from work, in the best possible mind frame, to be aware that kids and my missus, they're not going to want to hear about my day straight away or be able to relate to it or care in their own little worlds. So I just need to be ready for that. And what does that mean for me? Well, okay, I just need to then be present as a dad, as a husband, take the load off where I can, get the kids to bed, and then there will be a point where me and the missus can sit down out the back and have a wine and potentially talk about my day. And she's a very good listener once it's in the right situation. So if I hit her with it straight up, she's probably not going to give me the result.
That's right, because it is not easy being at home looking after kids day in, day out. It is not. I'd rather take a bad day at work. That's less stressful for me than being at home with my 3 kids when they're running riot. I can tell you that, mate. That's the truth.
Give me a structure fire any day of the week. The stress of, I've got 3 kids now as well, so I think definitely can relate to how hard it is at home. But I mean, one of the other massive positives of our job and our shift work is that I get to be such a present dad. So for those that don't know, we do 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off. And that means that for 4 days, midweek, I'm Mr. Mum, and I take the kids to school, I do lunches, we've got a baby, a 1-year-old as well. So I'm just present and there for, do whatever I want to do, and just get to hang out with the kids, which is a really nice life balance. I think, years gone by, and my dad, he's an amazing man, but definitely worked a lot, and being a police officer was weird shifts, a lot of arvos, a lot of nights where he would have to sleep, and he made it to, like, I don't remember a sports day or swim carnival where my dad wasn't there, but I don't know how he managed to swing it now, but I don't remember him being as available as I feel I am with my shift work. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely good and bad parts to shift work. I mean, not shitting on fires here, Chris.
That's all right. Go for it, mate.
But you mob get to sleep a lot on station. We don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that last night shift for us, mate, we're pretty much going home and having a sleep. It's not just a full day for us. So,
Mate,
but like you said, we've
got
to make a lot of sporting carnivals. We get to take the kids and drop them off from schools. But the thing is, for us, is we do miss a lot of weekends. As the kids get older, like, you'll miss that time during the week when they're at school. So you'll start to miss a lot of weekends. You'll miss birthdays. You'll miss Christmases. But on the flip side, we get to do a lot of stuff during the week. Take them to school, pick them. Like today, I went to the gym in the morning. And I was like, I miss my kids. They're at school. Stuff it. I drove to the servo, bought them a little chocolate each. Yeah. Went to the school. Went to the office. Said, I'm just going to quickly go and see my kids for a little bit. Went on to their modules. Hey, come here. I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, shh, don't tell anyone. Sneak them a chocolate in the pocket. Just to go and see it. That's the stuff they're going to remember when they're older. And I remember when Dad came just to give us a chocolate in the middle of school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so
little
good.
Stuff like that. It's important.
I was just going back to, like, a memorable and being a memorable story and being appreciative. I remember this one car accident I went to, and it was just the middle of the day, and got called quite a fair way out into, like, almost rural part of Perth. There was going to be two trucks there, so two stations basically. I rocked up, and this single cab, Ford Falcon Ute had been T-boned by a truck. The driver of the Ford Falcon was very in a bad way. It was basically the ambos were on site as well, which was quite fortunate. We're always happy to when they're there before us, for sure, because it takes a bit of pressure off us having to try and fumble our way through with limited experience and resources as well. So yeah, definitely always happy when you see the ambos. Yeah, they said this guy's time critical and we need to get him out. So we did what we call a rapid extrication, which basically the spinal alignment, that you're still trying to maintain the best possible spinal alignment as you can. But at the end of the day, if they're going to die,
it's life over limb.
Yeah, you get them out as quick as you can. If that means you have to twist them in a way that isn't probably best for their spinal alignment, if they had a spinal injury, then you still do it. But yeah, anyway, got him out, and I just remember, we ended up calling for the rescue chopper was on its way as well. So that I just remember this scene, and there's like the chopper landing over in the field off to our side, and this guy, and there's all these ambos, and it was just it flowed so well how we were all communicating together. The ambos were really clear about what they wanted. We managed to get this guy out nice and quickly as the chopper was landing, and then had the critical care paramedics, which are the really highly skilled paramedics, come over from the chopper and sort of help manage and take over. But what was different about this job was, once we had him out, they wanted to establish a decent airway, and they were struggling because of his facial injuries to get a good airway. And before you can take them on the chopper, and as you know, I guess you really need to try and stabilise them as best you can, because once you're up in the air, you're very limited as to what you can achieve. And we're a long way from a hospital, so it was still going to work out faster probably to go by the chopper. But we were probably half an hour roadside with him extricated on the gurney, and the ambos were quite. There's only 4 of them plus the critical care paramedic, and hands just become a massive issue. Just enough people to do everything. So we ended up staying and just helping, hold equipment and bits and pieces, but they were talking about doing a roadside tracheotomy, which you always hear is like a worst case never do kind of situation. Yep. But it was just a phenomenal, I guess, experience. I walked away from it going, wow, take away the very injured casualty, it was one of those days where I felt like we were really achieving what I had set out to, I guess, do, like impacting someone's life in such a positive way, using my skills to the max of what I was capable of with, in this team environment where everyone was just performing for that sole focus of this one guy. Let's just try and save this one guy's life. It was just a really phenomenal, I guess, job and experience. And unfortunately, I think we heard through the grapevine that this man, they did manage to stabilise him and get him off in the chopper, but I think he did pass away later on, just from the trauma of the internal organs, and that often we can't see some of the damage. But although not the greatest outcome in the end, it was just one of those jobs that sticks with me as well. It's like, this is kind of what I came here for, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, people don't realize how much logistics and training it takes when something like that happens. I'll give you an example, right? So we have a remote vehicle accident happen, all right? Whether the call goes to the police first or us, the police might put the call first, get the call, transfer it to us for medical. At that stage, we're triaging the call. The call taker then starts basically whatever they have to do depending on what the situation is. If it's more than one patient, depending the distance, so a lot of variables, but obviously the police, fire, and ambulance will be sent. If there's a local clinic that's closer, they'll also be sent. Then someone like me who's a supervisor will be sending in a notification to someone like CareFlight. It'll be what the location is and basic details, single car rollover, 5 occupants, 1 extricated, 2 mechanically trapped, 1 deceased, whatever it is, roughly where it is. Then what CareFlight will do, they'll get the district medical officer over the phone. They'll have their medical officer on the phone, their doctor. They'll have the flight crew, the CareFlight logistics, myself. If the clinic's responding, they'll have the clinic there. We're all talking while our ambulance is on the way. You know what I mean? There's so much happening in the background.
Yeah.
So much, and the public don't realize it. It takes a lot of coordination, a lot of working together. I mean, obviously, a lot of emergency services got some friendly rivalry with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they'll sleep thing with you guys.
Yeah,
and all that sort of, it's just fun rivalry, but exactly. But we work together so well. Like the training across all these agencies is really top notch, and I find day to day as we're working, everyone does really well. When something really bad happens, everyone rises to the occasion because everyone is trained. Everyone, like the shooting in Darwin years ago, everyone was ringing up when something bad happens.
Yeah, massively.
Everyone comes together and everyone just puts in 200%, mate. It's really inspiring to see the dedication of everyone that does these roles.
Yeah, I think probably the thing that I didn't realise going into the fire brigade was the fact that it's not like that all the time, though.
That's right. There's a lot of downtime sometimes.
Yeah, as you've alluded to. and on a night shift, that's not a bad thing.
No, exactly.
But coming out of the academy where it was 17 weeks of just go the whole time, and you were just, flat out, and then all of a sudden you hit station and you're just sitting around having a cup of coffee, talking shit, and waiting for a job almost. You're waiting for the bells to go off, and it was really hard for me in those first 6-12 months to adjust to the pace of station, because we're not like the police. We can't do a lot of they're patrolling, they've got a lot of proactive work that's happening, or preemptive stuff that's happening, door knocking, whatever else, following up on leads, and
just generally patrolling as well.
Just being present in the community, being that visual deterrent. Whereas the fire brigade's not really like that. We either responding to an incident or we're not. We do some prevention education, school visits, building inspections. We do a lot of our hydrant servicing. We go around and service all our own hydrants, flip the lids, and they get full of sand and crap. So digging them out and painting them and all those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, I suppose sitting in that ready state for prolonged periods, which can also be, if you don't know how to deal with that and manage that, can be quite, I suppose, draining as well. And going into that cortisol level and that that arousal state, and if you're just sitting in that threshold of constant somewhat anxiety, then that's not healthy either. So
no, definitely not. It's a lot of learning.
I had to, for sure, I tend towards I need to just be conscious of not being too eager all the time and just take the downtime when it comes. But I think for us as well, we're lucky we do have a gym on station, and that's a really good way of managing your energy levels. And because we go to a lot of calls as well that sometimes become a false alarm, and you go from 0 to 100, you get this massive adrenaline dump and fight or flight response, I guess, and then you get halfway there and it turns out, oh no, that's just a false alarm, stand down. And then all of a sudden you just got all this adrenaline, you're all ready, but you got nothing to do with it. So you just turn the truck around and go back. I think being able to go into the gym and, just run a couple of Ks or lift some weights quickly and just do something with that is really, really helpful as well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a quick question for you. So if you're on station, those bells go off.
Yep.
How long do you have to get ready?
So what we say gold standard is it's not time, but I guess anywhere from a minute to 90 seconds to sort of be dressed and by the time you get in the truck and that. So so depending on where fast. You are in the station, definitely happening quite fast. Trying to make that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm always conscious, and we try and drum in to the recruits, whose time are you using? It's not my time. If I take 5 minutes, it's that casualty's time at the other end.
That's right.
So always being conscious of the fact that, you're not dawdling. We're not getting a job. It's not an inconvenience, it's what we're there for. And I know that you can sometimes, especially some of the guys that have been around a long time, or, depending on your workload in your own personal life, and, you might have come in a bit tired, you had a hard night with the kids or whatever, waking you up 18 times and you get a job, and it sounds bad, but I guess sometimes you can go, like another job, far out. But recognising that the same urgency still applies to every job you go to, the same responsibility is still there every time, and it might sound like nothing. I've been to jobs where it's reported as absolutely nothing, and it turns out to be this big job.
Yep.
It might just come through as a small bin fire or a port of smoke or something stupid, and you rock up and there's a fully involved house going. So
Things change very quickly.
Yeah, definitely having that in front of your head, I guess, why you're there, and not dawdling is but we don't have like time trials every day or anything,
because I know they do time trials during our recruit course. From what I understand, they do time trials then. So I just thought I'd ask the question. And now the question: have you got a fire pole?
No,
no fire pole.
I know. I was just as disappointed when I got
There's
in.
one in Darwin. There's actually one in the Darwin station. That's why That's why I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We they call it 480 Hay Street was the old Perth fire station, and I've never actually been there. It was before my time. I must have shut sort of not too long before I got in. But everyone refers back to the old 480 Hay Street and how good it was, and a fair few antics and stories have come out of that place. But they had a fire pole and I think a wire for a girlfriend or something. They had a sundowner, which is a bit of a piss up at the end of shift or whatever. At the fire station, I think someone broke their ankle on our fire pole at 480 Hay Street. So
fair enough.
One person wrecked it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I have seen the one back when I was a locksmith. I used to do a lot of stuff for the government, and I did some stuff there. And I remember seeing the fire pole and looking down. I'm like, that's. And they had the foam at the bottom, big foam padding, and I was like, one wrong move off there, mate. Because I think they had their sleeping quarters upstairs, and at the end of the hallway they had the fire pole, so you could just go down quickly and take it with a cup. Yeah. I guess my next question is, what advice would you give people wanting to do the role of a firefighter?
I think I've touched on it. If you're interested in DFS, definitely jump on the internet page, and all the recruitment information is on there. There's so much more transparency than I felt like there was when I went through, and really make yourself aware, but also practice specifically for each one of those stages. I would say that you can practice a lot more for those soft skills, the interview skills, the critical thinking, the communication skills, all those soft skills. You can train a lot more for them than you think you can. So take the time and come up with specific examples from your life experience to answer those key criteria that are always going to be around the same, traits, I guess, personality traits that they're going to want. Obviously, physically, make sure that you're aware of the standards and able to do them. You can, call stations up. I did it back in the day, and actually went into Fremantle Station. And this is before I ever got in the job. Just said I'm an applicant, just looking to sort of know a little bit more. I didn't know any firefighters personally. If you know someone that's already in the job, then that makes it easier. But most of the fire stations are fairly supportive of people that are applying to come in and actually have a look over the trucks, answer any questions that they might have. We can try and give you some exposure to the specific equipment that you'll be using in that circuit. The cutters and spreaders, the ladder, dragging a hose, all those sorts of things that it is kind of hard to go to a gym and simulate. So, and then once you get in, I guess the main thing from an instructor towards recruits is I just want to see that it doesn't take any talent to rock up and be invested, be a good team player, be willing to learn, take on feedback, all of those things. We're not expecting you. We can teach you all the stuff you need to know, but you need to have the right attitude, I guess, coming into it, to want to learn, to want to be better, take ownership of mistakes. You're going to make them. I still make mistakes all the time, So that's probably the biggest thing. But if you want to do it, I know some people have taken multiple applications, 6-7 times to get in, which can be super draining. I mean, I was quite fortunate. I did get in on my first attempt, but don't give up, because I think if you don't succeed the first time, just learn from it, learn where you can get better. Hopefully you get some feedback.
Yeah. And they can see you're resilient, and they can see you want it as well. If you're going back multiple times, they'll be like, this dude is dedicated. And they may invest more time to help you train for it as well. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. 100%. Last question. How do you stay so resilient in what you do? Like the things that you've done, the things that you've seen, how do you keep such a level head?
Oh, I think I've done a lot of sort of personal research over the years, and that's where I met yourself at the Resilience Shield mentor course. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is that mental health for me, and my philosophy is very much similar to physical health. Everyone wants the silver bullet on how to lose 10 kilos. If I could magic pill and lose 10 kilos tomorrow, then I would. But I think we know that physical health doesn't work that way, and we're learning that mental health also doesn't necessarily work that way. Going to the gym once a month, you're not going to see a massive result. Going to the gym once a week, you'll see some improvement. And if you go to the gym every day, you're gonna see some really, really good results. And I think for me, my mental health, I treat it in that same respect, I guess. I try and implement daily routines and to become habits, I guess, so that I am in the best headspace day to day to deal with the pressure and stress of not only the job. I mean, the job that definitely has that, but I've found, parenting and maintaining the marriage and the mortgage and all these other things as well, on top of the job's probably what is the major cause of mental ill health within the fire brigade. So for me, I think I work out really regularly. I'm quite conscious of that sleep, diet, and exercise. We know the basics. Everyone knows the basics of good mental health. You hear about, I do daily journaling, big on that. And I try and goal set 3 things every day for the next day. I just use my notes app on my phone, and they might be like, they're not climb Mount Everest tomorrow or anything. I just want to go and have a peaceful coffee out the back before the kids wake up. That might be one of my daily goals. Or I haven't done any exercise in the last couple of days, so I just want to go for a 20-minute run tomorrow. Or I just want to get back to those 2 emails that I haven't managed to do in the last 3 days, whatever it might be. But I just try and direct my focus for tomorrow in 3 simple goals, and then I review them at the end of each day and feel a sense of accomplishment, I guess, because most of the time I will have hit them on the head. Sometimes, when I'm feeling in a really good space, they might be big goals. I want to go and run 20 Ks tomorrow or whatever it might be, but just take that off the level of where I'm at day to day and, what realistically I might be able to fit in. Because the worst thing is I don't want to add more stress by having these epic goals.
Yeah, exactly. Just little micro goals, things so you keep moving forward.
Massively.
Keep that momentum going. Awesome. Well, I heard something about you.
Yeah.
I heard on the grapevine. Now, I know people can't see the video, but you're a good looking dude. I heard that you were a part of a fiery calendar. Can you confirm or deny this allegation?
I was a couple of years ago. I was in the calendar a few beers ago. A couple of kids. Yeah.
Oh, mate, we're gonna have to get that photo and put it on the podcast. And advertise the episode.
No, let's get it there. Yeah. It was I do try and it's for charity. And we fund the Perth Children's Hospital.
I think it's great.
Off our local calendar. But I do try and pick one thing every year as a larger goal. I think what was that 2022? That was my goal. Gave me a bit of a motivation to obviously get in shape and stay in the gym. But I'm part of it was we do a launch night and you have to do a solo for your month, a dance.
Dance.
Yeah, I had
I didn't hear about, so I'm interested. Tell me more.
It was like a 90. They wanted it anywhere from a minute to 90 seconds of you, doing some sort of a routine. You could do whatever you wanted. Yeah, and that scared the absolute living crap out of me. Like, I'm not good in front of people. So I sort of found that as a bit of a personal goal to get out of my comfort zone and try and do that. So I did. I mean, I got through it. I'm not going to profess to have John Travolta moves or anything, but I survived.
Dude, I think it's great, mate. Like, especially, having the platform that the fire service has and being able to use these things like the calendars and stuff that they do to raise money. I think that's very, very commendable, man. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah.
Oh, man,
along the way.
Exactly. And that's what it is. It's all about getting your comfort zone. I mean, you and I know as well as, most people, life is precious. We are here for a nanosecond. We really need to enjoy every minute of it. You know what I mean? We need to have these new experiences, do the things we want, everything in moderation and just love life.
100%, mate. I think if you're going to die wondering, should I have done that? You probably already know the answer. Go and do it.
Exactly right.
If it's a thought in your head, and that's what, part of that as well is why not?
Absolutely, man. Dude, I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast. You've given some really cool insight into the fire service, the brotherhood that is the fire service, and realistic examples of the things that people that want to get into this industry are going to face. It's not always what you see on the movies. It's not always what you see, on the news and this and that. There's a lot more to it than that. Like you said, the mechanical side of things, maintaining the equipment, balancing the shift work, balancing the family, having the mortgage, all those things over your head, and a lot of the resilience and stuff that you've built coming into this job. And I really want to commend you for building this resilience program that you're going to be introducing to the fire service, because even in the ambulance service, I feel like a lot of the old guys that have been around for 30, 35 years are less accepting of the mental health side of things. And like being a peer support officer myself, like a lot of the time you call the older guys and they're like, nah, I'm fine. Yeah. But then when you call a lot of the newer guys that have been around for 2, 3, 4 years, they're like, thank you for ringing. Thank you for checking up on me. You know what I mean? They're a bit more accepting of the help and the follow-up. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's the key thing as well, is like you've just touched on. I don't want to wait until you're broken to then do something about it. I think the brilliant part of the Resilience Shield and what they've managed to do is I think it gives a lot of hope to many people that you can do stuff right now. I can do stuff today, to make me more resilient for what I will encounter tomorrow. And I think I want to be more proactive, and I want the fire service to be more proactive in doing that, so that hopefully we're not seeing in 20 years, 30 years time, people retiring because they have to medically or from PTSD, or the suicide rates that we've experienced in all emergency services and military services as well. If we can do stuff now, then why wouldn't you? I think that's my hope, is like you touched on with rolling out some resilience training within the fire brigade in WA, is to hopefully get some people to understand we have control, we have agency over our journey, just sitting there hoping that we're strong enough to deal with what comes our way. And then time and time again, we hear about people coming up short because it's a fallacy, right? Like, put enough stress on anyone and they're going to eventually crumble. Whereas if we can try and build that resilience proactively before we encounter these stresses, then hopefully we're in a better, or at least we will have healthy coping strategies for when things do happen. We know the right things to do.
Exactly right.
I think one of the main poems sort of that I keep going back to is Invictus. I don't know if you've seen or heard that one. It's one of my favourites. It's actually where I first saw it was off the movie with Matt Damon about the South African rugby team with Morgan Freeman, and the post-apartheid South Africa's trying to win the World Cup, and Morgan Freeman ends up reading this poem Invictus, and it's all about Nelson Mandela while he was imprisoned and how he dealt with that imprisonment. But I think the final part of the poem is, I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I think that is so true, and that's how I try and think of things, is I do have control over a lot of what I do, how I think, whether I consciously or unconsciously realise that I have a choice. Whether I choose to do something with that choice, then that's on me.
Exactly. And we can choose to have no opinion about something as well, if it doesn't affect us. And this is what I'm thinking of, that people are disturbed not by the things themselves, but by the view they take of them.
Massively true, I reckon. Yeah.
We are in control of our minds, not the other way around. I think that's the way we need to look at it.
Yeah, and just realise that, I guess, that you do have a choice. There is a choice there, and you can do what you want with that, but yeah.
Exactly right. Well, Chris, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It's been insightful.
No, thank you. Mate, you've done such a good job with this podcast, and I felt a bit of imposter syndrome when you asked us to come on here, but I hope someone somewhere gets something out of this, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Keep it up, because I'm loving listening anyway.
That's it. If we can just each podcast get one person to relate or help one person, then we've done our job.
Yeah, no, you're a legend. Keep it up.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into the Priority Zero podcast. We greatly appreciate your dedicated listenership. If you are interested in being featured as a guest on our show, we welcome you to reach out to us through our official channels on Facebook or Instagram. Alternatively, you can contact us via email at contact@priorityzero.com.au. We value your support in helping us spread these compelling stories to a wider audience. Kindly consider liking and sharing these episodes, as it plays a crucial role in our mission to reach as many people as possible.